is the eighth studio album by American rock band Queens of the Stone Age. It was released on June 16th, 2023. No official concepts have been unveiled, but the band has stated that they consider this the conclusion of a trilogy of albums that the band has done, starting with Like Clockwork, Villains, and now this album. So, Eric, thoughts on Queens of the Stone Age's new album?
So that's one thing I find, just like you mentioned, I find that really awesome about this band is that all their albums, if you listen to it front to cover, there is a underlying meaning towards it. And I didn't realize that this was a part of a trilogy. So I kind of want to do another deep dive just to try to hear that, because Like Clockwork is my favorite album by Queens of the Stone Age. It's just
Mm,
fantastic. This what I like about him is this just band is just so tight. It's
yes.
just such a tight band, and they have such uniqueness to their sound, like their guitar, like Josh Homme's guitar sound just sounds so cool. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I try to replicate it, it just sounds like trash. I can't stand it. So um what I like about this album is it kind of reminded me of, just going based off of the concept. It was almost like the society that we're living in today, that we're kind of in this almost like dark place of just everybody is at each other's throats. And it's almost like what I got from this album. It's like this like possessive demon that has taken over everybody. And it's almost like your fight to get out of that. And especially in the song Emotional Sickness, which is the second last song on the album, like you can kind of hear that, like that door creak at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hear the glass shatter, which is supposed to be um and the only reason why I know this is because I watched a lot of Supernatural, like the show. Hashtag the shout out to the Winchester brothers. But like the glass breaking is supposed to signify like the demon leaving or
Mm,
something like that, right? Like
right, right.
getting out. So it's almost like at that end of the album. So Emotional Sickness was definitely the song that really kind of brought it together for me for the album. But I mean, like the opener of Scenery, such a great opener. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just such a cool guitar riff, and I love how he's able to take something that sounds very strange to, if I played this lick to you, normally it would be like, what the hell is that? But then when
Mm-hmm.
he creates it in the song, it just sounds so good,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's able to take these augmented and diminished sounding melodies and then put it into a song, which is hard to do. Uh, However, there are songs like with every Queens of the Stone Age. I feel like there's a few songs on the album that are always just like, okay, this is annoying, and I found "Made to Parade" was one of those.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could see
all
that.
I pictured was like a frat house and
Right.
just like all these just drunken like because it's like the band slightly out of tune, right?
Yeah.
Um, Favorite song on the album, I'm gonna have to say I don't know if I'm gonna say this right. Carnivore.
Oh, actually, I was gonna say the same thing.
Yeah,
Carnivore is a freaking sick song.
it's such a good song,
Yeah.
man. But what I love about this band is like the album has something in meaning to Josh Homme. So this album, I feel like it's just his views of everything that's going on in the world. Just like just listen to the lyrics, like it speaks for itself.
Mm-hmm.
But like Clockwork was one. Like I know he was going through some health issues, and that was like really like he kind of like that was a point in his career where he realized that were people who he thought were his friends were actually just trying to take advantage of him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like this almost like this life changing thing of recovery to like, oh, who are my real friends and like who am I? Really like almost like that midlife like
Mm-hmm.
crisis or realization in life. Songs for the Deaf sounds, it's just like a road trip album,
Yep.
right? It literally starts off with the car turning on and the radio. Like I just like how he takes real world sounds that are happening in our everyday lives and then incorporating them into this like uniqueness of
Hmm.
music.
Yeah. Um, to be honest, like as much as this album sounded good and like the story through line was incredible in this album. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was just like it wasn't one topic, but it all sort of like stayed within the same subject matter for the most
Mm-hmm.
part, which is really really cool because it all sort of stayed within the same mood and it told a story from front to back. But when I listened to it, like this album isn't a perfect album. I'll
Mm-hmm.
start with that because there's definitely songs here that's like a bit too long or like that's sort of the same thing you're repeating over and over again. Um, but I don't know. For some reason, and I think this just goes for like majority of Queens of the Stone Age stuff, I'm always like, oh, that's a cool riff or that's a cool tone, but it could never like capture my attention for like the whole
Mm-hmm.
song, or at least for multiple songs. Um, so I sort of felt the same way about this album as cool as I thought it sounded. It sort of became background noise to me for a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, that might just be a preference thing because like the guitar tones are sick, but
Mm-hmm.
they are very like drony slash stonery. Like it's a very stoner rock. Those guitar
Yeah.
tones.
Yeah.
It's very like mushy sounding guitars. There is like some like clarity to them. You can hear the notes, but it's very like
It's like the only,
sloshy.
like, for guitar players, it's the only time where you take that tone volume knob, and you just crank it to 10.
Yeah.
And it's because like nobody does that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so like I
Yeah.
don't know. There's like great songs on this. Paper Machette, which is the second one.
Mhm.
Carnivore, we talked about. That's a great song. Like there's like really cool moments, and the through line of this album is great. It's nice and like together, and the band sounds phenomenal. But for me, like I don't know, it didn't
Mhm.
capture me, and
I
that might
I
just be the whole
I
band.
I hear what you mean. Like, I mean, Straight Jacket Fitting, like, 9 minute song for the closer. That's a pretty
Ambitious.
strenuous task to complete. I do think that they should have just ended with Emotional Sickness. This is like another Kelly Clarkson thing. However, that song did fit with the album. I just felt like the placement was wrong.
Straight jacket
So
fitting. I think it should
yeah,
just have been a shorter song and it would have been good.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. Like, I wouldn't say that this is a perfect Queens of the Stone Age album. I think Like Clockwork is perfect, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me because they're going to say, "Oh, well, what about Songs for the Deaf?" But that's like a classic. That's just a classic Queens of the Stone Age album that I would recommend to anybody to get into if
Hmm.
you want to listen to what this band sounds like. Uh, but I do know what you mean. There were, like, every other Queens of the Stone. Era Vulgaris was like a big, uh, one of those albums which was exactly like this one. It had great songs in the album, but then it's just like, what are these other songs? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, it was good, but man, there's just times when I just found myself going like, okay, next song, I'm good.
mhm.
All right, Eric. Final thoughts, ratings. What are you gonna give this one?
I mean, I didn't hate this album. I actually quite enjoyed it. Like, obviously there's some tweaking that you could do with any album, but I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10.
Oh wow. 7 out of
Yeah,
10. Pretty
7 out
good.
of 10. I enjoyed it.
That's
So,
good. Good, good. Yeah, for me it's I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. It's definitely not a bad album, but it's not like a great album. There's specific songs that I would tell you to listen to, and then there's a lot of this that I would just like, whatever. You could listen to it later. Like this is not a must
mm.
listen type of album. So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 for In Times New Roman, the Queens of the
I
Stone Age.
will I will have to say, one thing I love about Josh Homme with his lyrics is just that he has just clever ways of saying things.
Mm. Yeah.
Like just the way he uses words is very unique.
Yeah.
So that's the other point I wanted to put out there.
Yep. All right. So that was our discussion on In Times New Roman. For those of you who are following along with us every single week, the album that we will be listening to and discussing will be the brand new album by Michael Bolton, Spark of Light.
Yes.
I already regret
Jack
this
Sparrow,
decision.
baby.
I regret this decision already.
Jack Sparrow.
There's no way this is good. Like, there's no way this is gonna be anywhere near good.
Hey, if it sounds anything like Jack Sparrow, I will die. I will die inside because I think that song is amazing.
Yeah, that song is amazing, but like a serious Michael Bolton album, there's no way. There's no way. This is gonna be good.
This is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Anyways, so yeah, we'll be discussing that next week. So let's wrap this up. Controversial statements for this week. I did state that figs and raisins are the same thing.
Which had nothing to do with music. But
I will stand by that statement. It's that they are the exact same in taste, just different sizes and textures. Very controversial. Anyways, that's it for the podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in this week here at twitch.tv/the Crossroads Music Podcast. We're going to be back here again on Wednesday at 10 p.m. ET, 7 p.m. PT, discussing Michael Bolton's brand new album, which I don't know. I don't know why we did this, but anyways.
And now skip to the best part. This is the tale of Jack Sparrow. Fucking love that song. I'm gonna play it right after this podcast.
I don't know. Anyways, that's it for the podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Music. Oh, and leave a comment on our YouTube channel because apparently everyone disagrees with everything we say about Kelly Clarkson.
Come, tell us how we're wrong, everybody.
All right, have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you all next week.